Yeah, so basically the agenda for tonight is we are going to have Stefan talking about Meetup. We are going to do a quick call at the Meetup HQ to meet with Odile. And then we will have someone from Docker in San Francisco, also on Hangout. Docker has an interesting use case of meetups in the managing like 300 something meetup groups total. Then we will have Mark. We're going to talk about his big Docker meetup in Amsterdam, in Netherlands. And then myself doing a panel with some of you. Who's interested by a panel, to talk on a panel? That's Mark, Christian. One more, I need one more. Okay, you can think about it and come to me. All right, so the talk is actually, all the talks are streamed and also recorded, just so you know. Let's get started, I would say. Yeah. Stefan?
Hey, thanks a lot for the introduction. That's good, yeah. Johann, as well for hosting the meetup for meetup organizers here at the Stylight headquarters. It's actually our second meetup for organizers, as Johann already mentioned. The first one was in July, and I already see some faces that have been there. I guess we were 20 people in the office of Münchner Singles near Sendlinger Tor. And yes, so I quickly, so I'm Stefan. I work for Meetup as more like a product consultant, as a freelancer. And I wanted to quickly give you an overview of Meetup globally, where we're standing in Germany, how big we are growing. Just a brief overview. And then we wanted to have a small hangout with Odile Benifla. She's head of international product in the headquarters in New York. Meetup is based in New York. They only have one office globally, 120 people in Manhattan, and she just wanted to say hello, thank you that you're here, that you're organizing a meetup, that you're building the community. Okay, that's probably her. And so I just start, and then yeah, thanks as well for the other, for Mark and Johann for the other talks to share experience about what it is to be a meetup organizer and what the learnings were in the past. So Meetup globally is in 180 countries, so really global product, globally used. We have more than 23 million members, registered members worldwide, and they are organizing 210,000 meetup groups, so that's impressive data. Still, we are growing a lot, so globally, when I'm right, I guess around 30 or 35%. The main growth, 2015 and 2016, comes from non-English speaking countries. So as you can imagine, as Meetup is already, I guess, 15 years old and started in the US, the main users come from the English speaking markets. And if we have a look at Germany, we currently have, or we just crossed the 200,000 members. What's a huge success, and we're really growing fast, not only in Munich or in Berlin or in Hamburg, the three biggest cities with members and meetup groups in Germany. We are one of the top 6 fastest growing countries worldwide, so that's totally cool, and it's I talk a bit later what's the reason for that. And as you can imagine, when you have reached the critical mass, then of course it's getting easier and easier to find the right people for your topic, for your meetup. And yeah, we are really looking forward for the next couple of months and years. And my impression is, as well as you see the numbers, we are just about to start as well in terms of product, and as well product quality, as well localization. Most of you probably use the page in English, or if you organize a tech meetup. But we improved a lot on product and as well translation and localization. So in Munich, we have 23,000 members, and as you can imagine, or what's really cool and what's Bavarians and Munich guys are really good in, it's number one, the largest meetup group is München Stammtisch, right? So that's very good in drinking beer, sitting in the beer garden, having fun. So 3,865 members, and then going down the list, I mean, you see it. I have more statistics on that if you're interested. It's yeah, every meetup is growing fast, and it's mainly, as you already see in the top 5, or not mainly, but a lot tech-related meetup groups, but as well getting broader and broader to other areas. So to give you as well a quick overview on what topics are strong on Meetup or on newly created meetups in Germany. It's just a screenshot from our statistics tools. The bolder the term, the more important it is. So on top, it's a lot of tech topics like software development, like as well entrepreneurship, startup business, all that stuff. And then down the list as well, other areas like new in town or wellness or whatever, drinking, talking, laughing, eating. So that's all from all topics. There exist meetup groups. And as you already see here, a lot is about tech, and as well the largest meetup group globally is one about tech. So it is the New York Tech Meetup. It was founded in 2004, and now it's, I guess they have now 220,000 members. So that's really growing super fast. And on the left-hand side, you can see one of the first meetups, 2005. You see whatever, 15 people sitting in a room, probably living room of the organizer. And on the right-hand side, you can see really large auditorium, and it's really, really super, super big. Tech as well. Steve Wozniak once said, if there were no homebrew computer club, there probably would be no Apple computer. That shows a little bit how important it is to really meet other people with your same interests and share your kind of vision and as well your topics. So and if you know it from your own meetups, it's really a special atmosphere when you meet with your members of your meetup group, and you're sharing your ideas, you're whatever, discussing topics. Then there's a special atmosphere, and I mean, when there's something coming out like Apple, of course, that's not every day, but it shows how important a meetup group and seeing the right people could be as well for the business or for the economy, right? And here's a graph about the tech meetup groups in the US, and as you can see, I mean, most of them are in New York and in San Francisco or up the West Coast, and we have about 10,600 tech meetup groups with more than 3 million members, so that's huge, and that's still growing at a yearly growth rate of 31%. And then if you saw the note from Steve Wozniak, one of the Apple founders, you can imagine how deeply as well it is connected to economy and creating jobs and so on and so on. But of course, Meetup is not only about tech. So you know it. Most of you or some of you organize tech meetups, other areas, and the biggest country, of course, is US. The biggest city is New York, where as well the idea of Meetup was created after the terror attacks 9/11. And so New York has now more than 1 million members, so that's pretty impressive. When you imagine that New York has, I guess, 8 million population of 8 million people. And there's a small video here that I want to show that reflects a bit the variety of meetup groups being organized in New York. And I think that's something you as well know from your meetups, and I hope the video shows up. And let's see if that's working.
I was looking for people that kind of had the same, passion for life.
I had a puppy and I wanted her to play with other Frenchies.
I decided to work on clutter. I have some clutter.
For people and for pit bulls.
And I was looking for ways to improve my English.
So a lot of new people coming into New York, and they're looking to find friends.
Mutual interest drives people together in amazing ways.
When we started this meetup group, a lot of people thought, well, you're not going to find people who really live at that intersection of art and technology.
So 3 years plus later, we've been meeting every week.
People need an opportunity to meet in person.
The day I found Meetup, the day everything changed. All of a sudden I went, hey, I can play basketball with people my height. So hey, other people want to play flag football on Tuesdays. Hey, people want to drink on Thursdays, have margaritas.
People want to feel part of a community.
We are 1,858 guitarists.
1,000 shorties.
300 plus unicorns.
We are 479 platinum.
276 future meetings.
Almost 1,100 debts.
We are 209 Frenchie lovers.
750 origami enthusiasts in New York City.
We are over 8 million people, but we're very isolated.
Because you think New York is this kind of impersonal place.
This is the world, and it's in New York City, so we need to put it together.
It's really hard to imagine New York City without Meetup.
So I think a good overview of what's possible with Meetup and what's happening. As already mentioned by Johann, we thought it would be cool to just do or try a hangout with Odile in New York. And let's see if that works out. Okay, that's me. And now Odile should join. So a second. Okay. I mean, that's always yeah, maybe we try later. but I have her here on Slack, and she says in the Hangout. Okay, so I'm as well in the Hangout, and that's unfortunately not working. So sorry for that, but we try maybe later, or no. Yeah, sorry, we didn't prepare anything else, but yeah, I sent her an invite, but cool. Hey, Odile. Hey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so wir machen das auf Deutsch oder Englisch?
So I turn the laptop that you can see more than just me.
Yeah. Wow. Hello. Hello.
So this is Munich. This is the second meetup for meetup organizers, and we just had some slides about meetup, and our
Nymphenburger Straße 86, ja?
yes.
So, wir machen das auf Deutsch oder Englisch?
English.
Ja? English, good, good. Besser. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm very, very pleased to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. I don't know if Stefan told you, but I have lived in Munich for 3 years, so Munich is in my heart. So I think I wanted to share with what Meetup is planning this year, 2020. There are two major things that are happening at the Meetup. You know, we have for almost 14 years, and it's really time to grow up and scale. So the three priorities of the company this year: first, a lot of invisible sometimes. First, a new infrastructure. So we just hired a new CTO, and we are re-platforming our entire apps and products to be able to deliver new features much faster. The second priority is to build new apps. I mean, obviously, most of our users today, more than 50%, are going on Meetup on mobile, and it's really time to use modern technology at Meetup. So we have the most innovative tech Meetup organizers like you, most of you, but our product itself needs to catch up. So we are relaunching a new apps this year, and you will see also that we are going to rebrand Meetup. So it's going to be new logo, new look and feel. This is all coming up this year. And then the third priority of the company, most people, we need to hire a lot of people. So we are still hiring only in New York. But if any of you wants to join the headquarters, we're looking for a lot of developers, so please reach out to me. We want to grow the team in New York and then start connecting with organizers like you. Because we have been a little bit ignoring you for too long, so now we want to engage and support you and everywhere in the world. So these are the three major things. Cool. And I think Stefan, you already mentioned the growth of Germany. Germany is one of our fastest growing markets. My personal wish for Germany is that it stays strong in tech and career and business, but hopefully the meetups, also the fun, like outdoors and photography meetups and new dance meetups start to pick up as well this year.
Cool. Hey, thanks a lot, Odile. Unfortunately, the sound quality wasn't that perfect, but I guess it's good to see you, to as well see the headquarters in New York, and yeah, so thanks for at least trying a hangout, and yeah,
well, thank you, Stefan, thank you, Johann, for hosting at Stylight, and thank you, Mark, for I know the Docker meetup in Randstad, and thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so last thing, just our Twitter channel for Meetup Germany. So when you're organizing meetups, try to as well use social media channels to promote them. Our hashtag is meetup.de and the Twitter handle as well. So that's it from my side, and yeah, thank you very much. And I'm around here the whole night. So if you have questions in terms of product, Meetup general, any issue, localization topics, a thing you wanted to have probably translated in German since ever, just ask me, and I'm happy that you're here, and thanks again, Johann, for having us here. Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Stefan. All right, now we're gonna try to call San Francisco after New York. Very international tonight. Hopefully the sun is gonna be better.
Hi. No, I can't see you. No.
Just to give you the overview, we have about like, I would say, 30, 40 meetup organizers in the room. We just had a talk from someone from Meetups, and we wanted to hear from you, how do you manage your meetup groups, since you have like actually a pretty special use case, and like tips in general to organize meetups and anything that comes to your mind.
Sure. So how about, yeah, sure. So I'll give a small intro and then start talking about how we work with meetup groups, and then maybe if you have any specific questions or I'm not covering something, then just feel free to chime in and I can start talking about something a little bit different. Great. So hi, everyone. My name is Karen, and I work with the meetup groups in EMEA and APAC for Docker. And that is about 140 or 50 groups all throughout that. And worldwide, we have about 220 meetup groups. And I have one other, my coworker, Michelle, manages groups, the groups in North and South America. So I've been doing this for about 3 months now. And we have a couple different ways that we try to help out the organizers as much as possible, because we realize that all of our organizers are volunteers, and we really appreciate their time and what they do and help us really strengthen and foster the Docker community. So in terms of how we help our organizers, we use a couple different tools. Right now we use a platform called Mobilize. It's a great way to help or put all of our organizers in one kind of area where they can communicate with each other, where we can give them information on events that are coming up, different releases, content, different tips and ideas for them to organize their local events. So whether that's venue, speaker selection, finding sponsorships, things like that. I really try to kind of establish a relationship, at least through email, with all of my organizers, and really kind of be there for all of them, whether that's if they need a speaker for 1 week, if they're having trouble finding a venue. We also send out swag when we get requests. I know t-shirts and stickers and things like that can be very popular. So kind of a lot of different things that we do to try to help them out as much as possible. I guess, am I missing anything, or can I answer any specific questions? Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any questions in the room?
No questions? Yeah, I guess.
Hi, do you have some suggestions for no-show rates? Usually it's like 50%. Do you have a way how to make that a little bit better?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question too well. Okay, okay. So I think no-show rate is always a huge topic with our organizers as well. And I think that kind of what we do is we kind of have an internal just kind of understanding that usually it's going to be about 40% of the RSVP rates. There's a few different things that organizers have tried. Some works for their local groups, some don't. You just kind of have to feel out your group in general. So I know some of our organizers will, they kind of experiment with when they announce their event. So, kind of, I think the first instinct is to announce it as soon as possible with as much time to get the most RSVPs. But some organizers have found that the more time that they give people, the more time it's kind of like, oh, cool, like there's an event happening in a month, I'm definitely going to go. You know, you just click yes, and it's kind of like a brainless or a mindless reaction versus if you announce the meetup, say 7 days in advance, it's more of a, oh, do I have time, or that's coming up, let me put it on my calendar and kind of really give it some good thought. I know that's worked really well with some of our larger groups like London and Amsterdam. I know do that. And I think it's just kind of, I think the dropout rate is one of those things where it's never going to be perfect, and just how you can kind of accommodate that and plan for that is kind of being aware of how many RSVPs you get versus how many actually show up. And then that you can use that, those figures moving forward. So the next time you try to select a venue, you kind of have it in the back of your mind, like, okay, great, we have 100 RSVPs, but we know that about 50% only show up. So you can book your venue accordingly. And I know some organizers can be very hesitant in doing that, but it's kind of like, you know, if somebody really wants to show up, you know, you can find space for them, you can find room for them, you know, in the space. So to not be, I guess, hesitant to book a space that might be a lot smaller than what your RSVP numbers look like on meetup.com. And also too, one last thing that I just thought of, I think it helps a lot too to a few days before to send a message out to the group, just kind of requesting that everybody updates their RSVP status, because, you know, each venue is limited. So, you know, if you kind of just put that out there, just, you know, for people to be mindful of their peers that also want to attend, that if they actually can't, then if they can change their RSVP status so somebody else can attend. But it's definitely something that's challenging. And I think that, again, with every group, it's going to be a little bit different. And that's just something you kind of have to gauge as you continue to organize your events.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Hello. So the Mobilize tool, I've been a consumer of it, and it seems to be working quite well for me as a meetup organizer. But how good is it for you dealing with like hundreds of meetups across the world? Are there any problems with it? And the reason why I ask is we're considering using it for the Software Circus meetups, which are now spreading to other cities.
No, I don't, not really at all. I think for us, for Docker, it's really, really helpful for us because we can get all of our organizers in one place. So we don't have to kind of, you know, go out and do the mass emails or try to, you know, keep track of Google Sheets of all the contacts. And it's somewhere where there's an activity feed. We can give them all the information that they need, and they can also interact with each other. So for us, managing the organizers or kind of keeping track of everything and making sure we're giving them the information that we can, I think it's extremely useful. Johann, I know, I mean, you're part of our groups on Mobilize. So do you have any thoughts on so far? Like it's all still very new. So I would say that right now, you know, the organizers, we would love for them to interact with each other more often. That's kind of, you know, slowly happening, very slowly. But I mean, Johann, what are your thoughts about Mobilize? I'm curious. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like the interface is pretty easy and straightforward. So yeah.
Yeah, as an administrator, definitely, I would suggest it to anybody that is working with a lot of different contacts, because you can contact people in a couple different ways. You have the file section where you can put in all the information or any documents that you want to share. And then also too, it keeps track of everybody's information right there. So again, I don't have to worry about going to different sheets or ways that we're trying to keep track of everybody. I can always just log into Mobilize and have basically everybody have access to everybody's information right there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other tools that you use? I know that you guys are actually building some tools, right? Or you have the plan to build some tools to kind of like find out if there's like meetups happening at the same time as one of the meetup organizer meetup?
Yeah, so we have a couple different ideas that we're kind of playing around with right now. One of them, we just started the Slack channel for all the organizers, but that's something that we're trying to build right now, is kind of a calendar of all the meetups happening all over the world. So like in London, figuring out which other large groups are scheduling meetups. And that's also something, I believe Victor is working on it, so I don't have as much information on that. But another tool, I guess, we're working on is, it's called a DMAC program, so Docker Meetup in a Container. So what we're doing is we're finding that a lot of organizers are really needing content and have often asked for, slide decks or demos or basically packaged content that they can then present to their groups. So that's something that we're also trying to build, is, making it, again, trying to make it as easy as possible for the organizers to run meetups successfully. So hopefully we'll have one coming up in the next few weeks. But that, again, that's just packaged content, a slide deck and a demo. So really the organizer, without too much previous knowledge, is able to present the information to the group.
All right. Thank you. Any more questions? All right.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Is that it? Okay, great. That was easy.
Unless you have more to say, but
No, I mean, yeah, if there's I think that's about it. So, I mean, if there aren't any other questions, then great. Happy to answer.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Karen is actually pretty awesome. She always ping me like when I forget to organize a meetup. She's like, "Hey, Johann, should organize a meetup soon." That's always a good reminder. All right, Mark, are you ready? Yes, I think we should. Maybe you should get it actually. So it's a lot about Docker tonight. Who actually knows Docker? Right. What Docker is? Oh, it's a few people, okay.
No, I can try this. That's cool. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm flown in this morning from Amsterdam. The flight was obscenely early. So if I just sort of go off on long sentences, just wink at me and I'll come back to the point. Right. So this is the idea of the talk, but actually, this is about 3 months old, and I thought of loads of other stuff in the meantime. So it's going to be also a bunch of other stuff that I've thought of, but basically it's going around. Well, it's going to begin going around how do you grow your meetup group, and then about halfway through we're going to realize that that's not actually as important as we think it is, and then we're going to talk about a bunch of other things. This was based on a blog post that I put together. So we run Docker Randstad, which used to be called Docker Amsterdam. The Randstad is the bit of the Netherlands that matters, basically. And all the rest is cheese and clogs and shit. So we've done quite well with the Docker group, but we're doing a couple of others now as well, which I'll talk about. And it gets to the point now where, for example, like our February meetup, we're getting a bit lazy. So there's like 105 going with 19 on the waiting list. We've got the guy's name with no title, no other speakers, and no venue. And it's already sold out. So obviously, we thought we were doing something that was working, but I wanted to sort of figure out, like, well, the first thing I thought is it's actually a very male question to ask, like, is my meetup group big? So what I did is I looked at all the meetup groups, because they've got a really nice API, and then stacked them in terms of size, but then we lost. So I thought, well, that's not fair. Maybe I could do something with per capita. So then I divided it by the number of people, and of course Amsterdam's very small, so then we won. And we're the biggest per capita Docker meetup on Earth. So this was the original blog post. I'm going to be covering a lot of the points that are in there, and then some specific tips, and at the end I'm going to look sort of forward and tell you about some stuff that we're working on which you may find useful. Meetup were good enough to repost this for us. Thank you, Meetup. Not listening? Good. Okay, this is me. So actually that's not me. That's me 5 years ago. You might have noticed some changes. So I actually started my professional life as a developer. I moved, I'm not Dutch. I'm from Manchester in England, and I moved to Amsterdam in 2006 to work for TomTom as a C++ developer. And I did that for a while and did various things, and then I got involved with some startups, and eventually I moved towards marketing. The reason why is because I got bored of building stuff that no one knew about. So I always ended up being the guy in the group that said, well, maybe we should go and like do a meetup or speak to the world about this, and it eventually became my job. I now run Implicit-Explicit, which I'll talk about on the next slide. And we're running a meetup group, which also has a conference called the Software Circus, which is currently exploding. So it's already in Amsterdam, London, and Zurich. It's coming to Hamburg, Berlin, and New York within 3 months. And of course, somebody here should probably run the Munich one. I don't know. Well, don't all shout at once. How big is it? At the meetup group? Like how many members? The Software Circus Amsterdam is about 1,100. London is 300 or something. Maybe someone could check that. I don't know. They're all sort of growing relatively quickly. But I'll show you later because I've got a graph. Yeah, good. So the plug. So my company is called Implicit-Explicit, and what we do is we do everything that a normal marketing agency would do, but we only do it for business-to-business tech companies. So we represent people like HashiCorp, some of these names you might know, Cluster HQ up at the top, IBM SoftLayer. I couldn't find white font, so we went with this one, but you get the idea. We'll talk more about what we're doing and what we're going to be doing in the next months at the end. So as I said earlier, the basic idea is a bunch of tips around growing meetup groups, which we learned over, so it's, I guess, like 2.5 years of running meetup groups now. And we've noticed various things. And some of them we learned by doing them ourselves, and some of them we learned by going to other meetup groups and thinking that they were terrible and not doing those things. So you'll see what we're getting at. So this is kind of section 1, which is just a recap of the blog, right? So you could also just read the blog, but we're going to, since we're here, we'll do it. So the number one driver of growth that we found was big names. So like if you have famous people come and speak at your meetup, loads of people come to see it, they sign up, and then your meetup group grows. But the inverse of this also works. So at first, when we started Docker Amsterdam, before it changed names, we couldn't get any big speakers because there weren't that many and no one was really interested. But we did get anti-speakers. So we got some big people from the DevOps community to come and tell us why Docker was a terrible idea, which is also sort of sensationalist, right? So it was quite funny then, but it's even funnier now because, of course, they were totally wrong. Yeah, that's the other thing we're doing. So I don't know, is everyone representing tech meetups here? Or do we have some like wine tasting? Yeah, what? Tech? Cats? What is that? I don't know what. Dads? Oh, dads. Fathers. Right. Got you. Okay, right. So, okay, this applies less to dads, I think, but with the tech meetups, so you have like big names in any sort of, you know, you've got like the Golang big guys and the Python guys and the Docker guys and all this kind of shit. But there are always new people popping up that are doing interesting stuff. So I just met a guy today in Munich who's got like 1,000 stars on a GitHub for something that does authorization for Ember.js. It's like, okay, I didn't even know that existed this morning, but apparently that guy's a rock star and he's right here. So what we did at first was look for trending stuff on GitHub and then figure out if we knew those people. And we found a couple of people in Amsterdam that we just never met before who were actually doing really popular Docker-based GitHub stuff. So there are often sort of rock stars in the area that you can use to draw more people in as big names that you don't necessarily read about in InfoQ or Hacker News or wherever you go for your news. Next most important thing is fun. I actually forgot my fun bit. Wait, it's over here. So one of the things we try to do is make it fun because I got bored of going to, yeah, there we go. I got bored of going to meetups where you sort of walk in and everyone says, okay, welcome to the Ansible Meetup Amsterdam. This evening we've got 3 speakers. Okay, first speaker, thank you. And like this just doesn't work, right? Because the guy that's hosting is setting the scene for the evening. So if you came in a great mood and then you sit down in front of that, you sort of fall asleep quietly in the back. So t-shirt throwing is a big thing. Who wants an implicit-explicit t-shirt? Yes. Right. What? Yeah, that's like favoritism because we were speaking before. I'm going to give it to that guy. Okay, I've only got one. That is me with a t-shirt gun that we bought for the Software Circus thing. Now, the guys that loaned it to us said, be careful because it's got a 60-meter range. That can't be true. So I pointed it, and it went bink and fell on the floor in front of me. This is me in December wearing a red suit with snowmen on it when we had a winter-themed Software Circus meetup. So obviously, a lot of this involves me potentially looking like a dick, but it does help to set the right scene, which is we're all here to have fun. Fun facilitates learning, so concentrate on things like this. A couple of the other things we do is we always ask who's new and who's not, and if you're sat next to someone who's new, shake their hand, extra points for hugs. What else did we notice? We noticed a lot of people hanging around at meetups just to try and hire people for their new startups. So we, right, are you here to hire? He was like, that's me, no. Right. So what we did is make that explicit. So we now have the hiring game. So we don't normally have 3 talks in a night, and in between the second and third talk, we ask people who want to hire to come up the front. We give them 60 seconds to pitch, and we have some fun with it. Like one of the ways to have fun is if they go over 60 seconds, which they always do, we just cut them straight off and they can't finish their pitch, which is fun for everybody apart from them, right? Next up, keeping it ad hoc. So I see a lot of meetups groups doing like, we're always the 3rd Thursday of the month, which is fine if you're a trained timetable, but you're supposed to be sort of building excitement about something. So what we tend to do is just, if there's a speaker in town, we'll put one on tomorrow night and then see what happens. And normally loads of people show up. The other thing we do is like steal other people's fame, basically. So a bunch of us were going to DockerCon in Europe, so we thought, screw it, we're going to put on a pre-DockerCon party for the Software Circus, and then advertise it to everybody. Docker were good enough to push it to their Twitter thing. Docker didn't have a pre-party, so we became the pre-party and got like 300 signups. We're doing the same again in Berlin next week for Cisco Live, which we're calling Cisco Love. Only 28 at the moment, but that's more to do with Docker and Cisco than us, I think. Sharing. So one of the things we do a lot of is advertising other people's meetup groups so that they will sort of help us back. We also do joint meetups. So obviously in the Docker space, microservices are a big thing. So sometimes we will like partner with the Microservices Amsterdam or the Go group in Amsterdam and do joint meetups where maybe they've got a good speaker, we've got a good speaker. What normally happens is both groups get some extra members because they're being exposed to new people. So that's a good way of growing it. And the last one is communication. So I'm in a whole bunch of meetup groups, and what I notice is that some of them don't email me at all. Some of them do email me, but they write to me like, it feels like I'm getting a letter from the tax man or my doctor. It's like, hello, Mr. Coleman, I'd just like to inform you that tomorrow night something incredibly boring is going to happen. This is not the way to speak to them. You know, they come and they drink beer and you know these people. So we tend to put like stupid pictures in there and all sorts of stuff like that. We email them about twice a month. And one of the things that you guys that run the bigger meetup groups will already have noticed is you start getting loads of spam. Like, hi, I'm from X software company. Can you please advertise me to your members? We do this, but only if there's some real offer, right? So if they're actually going to give us 50% off something that's interesting, or if they're going to give us like early access or something that our members would actually like, then we'll communicate that. Otherwise, we block it. And I think we block like 90% of the shit that comes through because somewhere, some marketing people are getting paid to just spam meetup accounts, and it's not very high quality. So I think, yeah, that was it. So that was the blog post. But then since I've done this talk a couple of times now, I've added a whole bunch of extra things which might help with growing your groups. And some of them are like hacks, but they do work. So disallow guests is number one thing, right? So I see this all the time. It's like some guy, like Joe Smith with 15 guests. Like those people don't have to join the group. So I'm like, just disallow guests. Then they have to join your group, so your group grows larger. Now, I think that's reasonable because you've gone to all the effort of putting on a whole evening, and all they have to do is sign in to Meetup, which you can do with Facebook or Google or anything else, and then join your group. So I switched those off. Another thing we could try and concentrate a lot on, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is engagement and not size. So there's, in every town that I've been to, there's always one like 3,000 person meetup. But if you go to one of the events, there's 12 people. So obviously this is not really what we want, right? What we really want is 3,000 people at every event. Now that's not going to happen, but moving towards that is useful. And one of the things that I found, which I didn't know about, is in your notifications you can set a tick for getting an email when someone leaves your group. Does anyone do that? Right. What do you do when you get that email? Just go like, shit. Right. I think that's totally reasonable. If you find yourself hiring a private detective, you've gone too far in this, definitely. All I do is send a message. I've got like a fixed message. I just copy and paste it and change the name at the top and say, like, we're really sad to see you go. Is there anything we did wrong? And 50% of the time, they'll say, no, I've just moved to a different country, or actually I decided that I don't like Docker, or something like that. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, you email me too much. It's like, oh, cool, thanks for letting me know that. Now we can email less, or something like that. So there's a lot of learning points available in here that most people are not getting. And when we're watching growth, so mainly, like you get all the emails saying new people are joining, and that feels good, but no one's watching attrification, and this is a useful way to do that. Because most meetup groups that I'm aware of are sort of still on a growth curve, but some of them, like we'll see it in a minute, like DevOps Amsterdam is starting to slow, and it's at that point that you might be wishing that you'd asked some questions earlier. Sometimes you're just attached to a movement or a technology which is dying, right? So you can't do anything about that. Like if you were the C++ group, you'd have been like rock stars in the 90s, and now not so much. But there's still things you can learn from people that are leaving your group. Talk length. So I've submitted a whole bunch of talks to a lot of meetups all over the place, and sometimes I get these like really snotty replies back saying, Your talk must be 30 minutes or 60 minutes. You have exactly 10 minutes for questions, etc., 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 right? And this, I don't see any correlation between this and quality. I think it's just stupid. It sounds automated. So what we do is we let people have any talk length. So if people want to come and talk for 90 minutes, like we got Jerome from Docker, who's total rock star, software celebrity. If he wants to talk for 90 minutes, he can talk for 90 minutes because one, we know he's a good speaker, and two, we know people are going to enjoy listening to him. Now, if some guy that we don't know wants to talk for 90 minutes and I've never seen him speak, we're probably going to say, how about we start with 30 or 35 minutes, and then next time you can come back and do another one. And all the way down to the bottom end of the scale, people that are perhaps talking for the first time, and we've had quite a few, because the crowds are getting quite big now, which puts people off, but we've had quite a few examples of people who said, I'd love to talk, but I'm a bit nervous. So like, okay, why don't you do an Ignite talk? It'll just be 7 minutes and it's over, and we sort of spread those throughout the night. And it means basically we have talks of all different lengths, but it doesn't really matter because it's about quality. Small tip. Newbies is one that's getting harder for us to do now, but if you've got a smaller group, you can still do it. So especially in software, there's a correlation between software people and like an anti-correlation between software people and like being really confident in social situations, right? They're shy, so that's fine, but help them because they're walking into a room with a bunch of people they don't know. So what we used to do is just have a quick look through the list, make a list of maybe 20, 25 people who we don't know, and then there's normally 3 or 4 of us at each meetup. We'll just try to just, for, I don't know, 30 seconds, say hello to them and welcome them a little bit, because like, I don't know, maybe some extroverts actually do just enjoy walking into massive crowds of people. I haven't ever really enjoyed that, but you know, some people really hate it, but they still want to come to your meetup. So instead of making it like a nerve-wracking experience for them, you can just soften it a little bit. I normally try and introduce them to someone else, and then I move on. We can't do that anymore because we've got too many people now, but I still try to pick out some and do it like totally randomly, which probably isn't a very good algorithm, but it's better than nothing. This is one I just added during the call. So if people don't show, we name them and shame them. Not all the time, so not with newbies. But like, there's always that guy who's been to all your meetups, and then just on one, when you've got 50 people on the waiting list, he just doesn't show up and doesn't tell anyone. So normally we'll take a picture of his face, and then post it in the next time we email the whole group. And sometimes there's like 5 of them in there. If you know them, it's funny. If you do that to newbies, it's probably not going to work out for you. And this is just a recommendation about a tool which I always put in there. So one of the things we've had, like at every meetup I say, if there's anything specific you would like to hear about, please let us know and we'll try and find those speakers. Nobody ever does that. Like, well, maybe we've had twice in 2 years. But we did send out a questionnaire to ask people about various things, and we got a 60% response rate, which is ridiculously high. The thing we use is Typeform. It's the best questionnaire thing I've ever found. It makes them very pretty, it's very easy to use, and the free plan gives you more than enough. So I think that came up at a previous one, so I put it in there. If you're not going to do questionnaires, don't worry about it. Okay, so now this is where I get to talk about what we're doing in the future. So one of the things we've been doing is working with the Meetup API, because the Meetup API is still ridiculously open. It's like the NSA's wet dream. And this is part of a sort of larger movement that we're trying to start. So before we talk about the future, talk about the past. Sorry for the non-technical people here. I thought it was only technical people in the room, so this may not make any sense, but if you're from a technical meetup, just sort of like nod and smile at the dads and stuff like that. You're an ops engineer anyway, dude. Okay. Right, so there's an interesting, like meetups generally fall under sort of marketing in general. Now you can do it as community or just making new friends, but companies are using them all over the world to sort of further their causes, whether they be good or bad. For anyone that works in software, you'll notice this thing has been happening, right? So here's development. This is where programmers program stuff. And in like the 90s, you used to have a separate testing department. First it was one guy, and then it was like 10 guys. And then software vendors started selling them really expensive, useless tooling. And then it took a while, and then the developers said, no, we don't like that shit, and started automating it all using open source software. Same thing's happening broadly in operations. Now you have enlightened operations people, less enlightened operations people. Happens in every job. But what's been happening for a long time here is sort of pointy, clicky software that costs a lot of money. And then eventually we see more and more open source coming into the operations environment, and the world's getting better. You may be wondering, why do I care about this? It's because basically paying loads of money for use of software slows down progress. So let me get to my point. Next is going to be this. So if anyone here works in marketing or is near marketing people, what you will have noticed is that in the sort of generic company, you'll have like one marketing person at first, and then you have 3, then you have 5, and then they start buying a whole proliferation of expensive, crappy, closed-source marketing tools. And there are soon going to be marketing tools around Meetup, I'm sure, that allow you to do all sorts of shit, but it just costs you 60 euros a month, and then you get locked in, and then you hate your life. So we thought, fuck that, we're going to do something about it this time. So we've created the Open Source Marketing Initiative, and I'm going to give you a demo of some of the tools that we're releasing shortly, soon. I can't say much about this right now because it's all sort of NDA'd, but in about a month we're going to release the first tooling under this brand. We've partnered with a name that I can't mention, but it's like a fairly large vendor of container-based stuff that you may have just heard of. Right, let me give you an example of why this might be important for you. So I'm going to do a live demo, which is, of course, going to go wrong, but okay. So I'm going to need one of these. Right. So, as I said, the Meetup API is still very open, so you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. Like this, if it works. Good. Okay, now let's go over here. Okay, right. So one of the things that we wanted to know about was, first, you have to appreciate my programmer art. This is what happens when I do front ends. So, one of the things I wanted to know is how fast is my Meetup growing over time, right? I can see numbers, but I want to see it actually progress over time. So, basically I want to know if I'm winning. That's the point. So let's try it for a Meetup group here. Who wants to be a volunteer for this? Yes. What is your Meetup group called? Munich Business Speakers. Good. We're going to go here. Oh, wow. I can see that you're already going to break my thing. Okay, good. What we need is that string there. Wait a minute. Just see if I can get rid of that. Get hold of that with one hand. Yeah, there we go. Come on, baby. Get that. I'm going to go over here. How many members do you have? Okay, that's good. So there's no back end, right? So it's going live from the front end now to the Meetup API to go and grab some stuff about her Meetup and then draw it for us. Did you break my software? Wait a minute. Let me try that again. Let me try that again. Did I do something weird? Is it this one? The whole thing? The whole thing? Wow. So that's why I thought, I was like, shit, really? I've never put a string that long into here before. I definitely haven't tested for this. Okay, I'm going to try it one more time, and then I'm going to go for another one. I tested it on my Meetup. It worked on my Meetup group. Okay, that doesn't look good at all. Let's. Okay, so let's try let's try our newest one, Terraform Amsterdam. Please, baby. Okay, so it's your Meetup group that's at fault. I don't know why that happens. we'll find out later. Okay, so basically what is it doing? It's showing us, since the inception of Terraform Amsterdam, how's it grown over time. So I can put other stuff next to it. I'm not going to choose anyone else's because it's going to break again. So Docker Randstad, you'll be able to see. No, come on. Yeah. This one will take longer because it's going to go and get everything live. So this came from a real use case of one of our clients who was going to send a speaker through Europe and needed to hit a bunch of meetups, but couldn't get to Docker London, I think. So like, what's the meetup in London that's got the biggest overlap of members? So we'll go and speak there instead. So we created this. So what you can see is Docker Randstad started at the end of 2013. It's now 1,600 members or something. Terraform Amsterdam started recently, and it's got less members. And you can see the Venn diagram of the overlap of the members in there, right? Which is pretty cool. Or at least I think it's pretty cool. Anyone here think? No. Okay, good. So then let me show you our newest project, which is Software Circus, just to give you an idea, because I used the word exploding before, and I think I should qualify that. Now there's a unique property of Venn diagrams, which is that you can't have more than 3 members. So if you put a 4th in there, it all breaks down. Okay, so that looks pretty good, right? So Software Circus started at the beginning of 2015, but it's already over 1,000 members. And that's just the Amsterdam one. So it's growing very quickly. Now, because that failed, I really want to try another one from the crowd. Who? Pie Ladies Munich, okay. Let me get the string for that. Yeah. Good. Let's try this again. Should have really got one of those. Right. Let's see how you're doing. Or let's see if we can break it again. There you go. So you started at the end of 2014, initial growth spurt, and it's a bit flat since. Fine, it's nice to know, right? I can do something about it if you would like to do that. We can also see that absolutely none of your members are members of any of my groups. Maybe we should fix that. So, okay, this is just... I'm going to stop demoing now. This is getting really scary. Okay, let's get back to this. So that's one example of the kind of functionality that's going to be released. You can see it on our GitHub at the moment. You can see some other things that are happening there, but there's some more things that we're going to be releasing which are perhaps interesting. So scheduling helper is one of the things that we got from meetup groups in the States. So if you're in New York and you want to schedule a meetup that does not clash with any other meetups where your meetup also has, of which your meetup members are also members, then that's a real pain in the ass because there's like 1 million people in that town that are on Meetup and they're all members of 50 meetups. So what we're going to do is take the Venn diagram thing and then put it on the calendar and then suggest dates to you, right? Which would be pretty cool. This is also in the pipeline. Engagement Monitor shows you a prioritized list of your least engaged users, which you might like to know about, because then you can contact them and say, hey, I noticed you joined my meetup group, but you've never come. Like, are you shy? Or is it too far away from your house? Et cetera, et cetera. The biggest one that we're going to drop in 3 weeks is Technology Radar. So we've been crawling the Meetup API for the last month. We've got all the meetup data for all tech meetups in Berlin, Amsterdam, London, New York, San Francisco, and Seattle. I gave that to some guys at Go Data Driven there. And they did all sorts of like data science shit that I don't understand. And what they've come out with is a technology radar. So the tech guys in the room and girls may be familiar with the ThoughtWorks technology radar, where they basically get in a room every November with a bunch of famous guys and then decide what's cool and what's not. And quite a lot of the time, ThoughtWorks technology ends up being on the cool list, which is a bit weird. So we thought maybe if we were to drive this, what would be better than a what's hot, what's not in tech based on where people are actually spending their evenings on meetups all around the world. So we're releasing the Amsterdam one in 3 weeks, and then we're going to be releasing different cities after that. So you can probably expect to see that on Hacker News, but you should also follow us on Twitter. And another example, which is non-meetup related, but I thought I'd put that in there anyway. So when we launched the Software Circus conference last year, we put out a call for papers, and then no women applied. So we didn't put any women on the thing. And I was like, okay, none applied, so I don't put any women on the schedule, so that's okay, right? Twitter decided, and Hacker News decided that was absolutely not okay. And loads of guys started trolling us and calling us sexists and all sorts of stuff, which actually led to a really fruitful discussion where we ended up giving away 33% of the tickets to anyone from any minority if they decided they were from a minority, which was great for us and great for them. But in the meantime, it's very scary because we're dealing with people that are like talking shit at us online while we're trying to sell tickets, so that's a major PR problem. So there's a tool which we're using internally, but we're about to open source as part of the open source marketing initiative, which will, you can point it at any Hacker News user, and it will tell you whether they're generally angry, neutral, or sad, based on all their previous comments, so that before you reply to them, you know whether you're dealing with an asshole or not, right? Because you can choose very different strategies. If the guy's having a bad day, you can say like, dude, I've really annoyed you, I'm sorry, maybe we could have a Skype call. If this guy's just an asshole day in, day out, just ignore him. So you get a score, 10 to -10. Anyway, that's all the good stuff that's coming up, and it was all inspired by the initial work on the Meetup API, and that's only possible because Meetup have an awesome API. And if you haven't looked at it yet, look at it. It's really open. They've got great rate limits. Very generous with that stuff. If you want to be kept in a loop about any of the things that I was just talking about, you should follow us on Twitter. For a marketing company, we've got possibly the least spellable Twitter handle of all time. But the news will be going up there soon. And, oh yeah, this is in case the demo didn't work, but it did. So that's it from me. Thank you very much. Are there any, do we do questions, or is questions a thing? Okay, yep. He's running.
I think I actually could have spoken loud enough, but okay. Have you actually tried using video? And I'm saying this because when I was still in New York City and I was co-organizing the Semantic Web meetup there, we dabbled in video. We would videotape nearly all of the sessions, put them online on a Vimeo channel, and we couldn't decide whether that actually causes more or fewer people to come to the meetup.
Streaming it, you mean?
What?
Streaming it?
No, not streaming it.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have the technology for that. We would tape it, and then we would broadcast it like in a day later or so.
Right. So with this, there's two schools of thought on that matter. One of them is that if you video it, then that's great because people can watch it all around the world. My response to that one is that nobody ever actually watches them, in my experience. Our best talk ever's got 71 views, and it's a year old. The flip side to that is with the Software Circus, we have a strict no video policy because I don't want people sitting at home watching it, right? You should come and experience it or miss out. Same with the conference. And this got us into some of the sponsors were like, well, if you're not going to video it, then we get less bang for our buck. And we had to just say, yeah, but we don't video it because otherwise people won't come, and we've arranged this amazing venue and stuff. So we have a no video policy these days. But some members occasionally turn up with little hand cams and video it anyway, and I'm not going to stop them doing that. So that's it.
In the beginning of your talk, you're talking about getting rock stars to your meetups, giving a talk and everything, so that you have a lot of people from the surrounding joining your meetup, listening. I feel or I see the opposite in my meetup group. The problem is every time we invite some of the rock stars, or they call us if they come to Munich, and we announce it, very, very few people join. Well, in our meetup group there is the problem. We do have 4 to 7 rock stars of our community here in Munich doing our core team, and we see a lot of newbies joining first time and then hearing, oh, this is this guy, this is this guy. So they are feeling it's two rock stars, and they are the two people that are too deep into the topic in some way.
Okay, so I think there's two things there. One is the idea of rock star is relative, right? So we'd all be excited if Mick Jagger walked in here, but Paul McCartney would not be excited if Mick Jagger walked in here. So if you've already got rock stars in your club, then they don't care about other famous people in the Python community, I guess. The other thing, and that's a thing we've now got with Docker Runstart, which we're still trying to solve, is that initially it was a bunch of early adopters talking about like really technical stuff, but now because Docker's such a huge thing, I'd say 50% of people at most meetups haven't ever touched Docker. They just heard about it. So that's tough because I personally want to put on like really cool talks that I'm interested in, but like half the crowd would probably like some beginner stuff. So what we've started is started a monthly workshop series. So we've got Jerome from Docker coming to do the first one Friday after next, and that's a full day workshop, and that's like 0 to hero Docker, which we hope will then just like bring up the level in the community, and then they can, so basically so I don't have to book boring speakers. That's the hypothesis at the moment.
Other questions?
Yes. This question was actually asked before, but I thought I'd repeat it, mainly because I've dealt with it in two different ways. There was a question before about attrition rate in the actual meetups. People just signing up but not showing up. So the way we dealt with it in New York City was we just charge money. So we literally charge initially $5, later on $10. That also helped us cover the venue charges, blah, blah, blah. And that actually worked there. Because we were having in the beginning the problem of having either too large or too small venue because people would just show up or people would not show up, and it was getting very unmanageable. Here in but then the other meetup I also organized in New York City, we didn't do that, and that also seemed to work. Here in München, when I proposed the idea, because we're also having exactly the same problem, there's a little bit of a pushback on that. It doesn't seem to be as well received as an idea, although we haven't tried it yet, as it was in New York City. And I was wondering, from your experience, how do you deal with that? Does that work, or is that not a good idea?
Right. So first is our drop-off rate is almost exactly 30.0% every single time. So we just know that. So we oversubscribe, and it's never a problem. I know some guys in London have tried charging, but the thing is that in Amsterdam we never have to pay for venues or beer or pizza, ever. And in London that's not the case. Like, they have to actually get vendors to sponsor the meetup so that they can provide all that stuff. And if we ever had to deal with money, maybe I'd be like, yeah, not showing up is not cool, right? It's actually money here. So then I might be more inclined to charge, but we're relatively lucky in Amsterdam, and that it's given to us. So when people don't show up, we name and shame them if we know them, and otherwise we just live with it. That's it.
Hi, I have a question about the neat trick with the GitHub finding rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
How exactly do you find someone for a topic with the high star rate and in your location?
How exactly?
Yeah, because it could be just my lack of experience with GitHub, but I wouldn't know how to go about finding someone who has a great GitHub repository and is, for example, in Munich, and is not talking about Docker, but for example, IT security or whatever.
Right. So there's like the easy part, and then there's the hard part. And the easy part is the GitHub API. So if GitHub will recognize what language various things is in. So if you run the Go meetup, then you're in luck because it will recognize Go things, and it'll tell you here are all the Go ones. The trick that we use, and there may be better ways to do this, is sometimes people put their Twitter handles on their GitHub accounts. Then you can jump over to Twitter and then scrape that, and then often they have their city in it, and then you're winning. But that's I'm not really a programmer anymore, and when I did this, that's a long way of saying I did a very brute force way to do this. We got a sort of M2 Amazon machine and left it running for 3 days. And then it came up with a load of stuff. And then we tweaked it and did it again. I'm sure there are data science people in Munich that can tell you how to do this properly, but that's basically it. You need to find the jump because GitHub won't tell you where they are. So you need to get to Twitter and then they'll maybe tell you where they are. And the fall off rate is 90%. It's because people either don't put their Twitter on or they don't put where they're from. What you can do, though, is if they have a full name, you can put it in LinkedIn, Right, so basically like growth hacking, data scraping crap. It's fun, but it's quite labor intensive at first.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Just a simple question, really. Can you give some hints about when organizing a meetup, should we always start with a simple novice topic and the expert topic at the later part? So like having a concert with a party, sorry. With
a warm-up act.
Yeah,
right.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Some hints, please. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't do that because we try and, like, if I'm worried about a speaker being, what I'm worried about is energy the whole night, right? So they should be, like, if I know they're going to be really awesome, then they're going to sort of keep the crowd engaged. So it doesn't matter if they're there for 3 hours listening to 3 talks in any order. What's really a problem is if you get one that really doesn't match. So that would be, for example, let's say you have a really expert crowd and you bring a novice speaker talking about something basic. An expert crowd will put up with that for 20 minutes, but they won't put up with it for an hour. So that's just an intuition thing. But I don't specifically try to cater to beginners or like advanced. I just bring people and then look around the room and sort of intuition it a bit. That's it. But I think that's the main variable, right, that I use. It's like if someone seems to be a risk, I give them 30 minutes instead of 45. Because then it's over quite quickly. I don't know if that, does that, your face says no, but your body's saying yes. Right. Okay, cool.
Hi. So our situation is quite different because we've rescued a meetup, and we discovered a meetup. We run now electronic music producers in Munich meetup, and
sorry, I can't. For some reason, I can't hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Shall I come down here? That's better. I mean, it's like a muffling thing that's happening. Hi.
Okay. So we saved the meetup, basically. So there was a meetup, someone else was running it.
Oh yeah,
and
you
we were
rescued
part
it.
of it, rescuing,
right,
yes.
like an
and
abandoned puppy.
Yeah, and we were part of this, but we entered this meetup after one meeting, so we were not attending this meeting. We are now full fresh, like to be meetup organizers.
Right.
And now, what would be the tip? Because we have 75 people. And we will now start with that. We started by communicating, writing a message, and like, hey, drop some ideas if you have. Like, we are open to anything. Yeah. But is there any like other tips for like rescuing a meetup created by someone else?
What kind of meetup is it?
And
music producers.
Electronic music producers.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's not really my area of expertise, I have to say. But so you emailed them and they didn't reply. That's what happened to them. What did that one person say? Right, there you go. New meetup group, 1 member. Start there. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if it were... Can you... Yeah, so I just don't know enough about the music producers to come up with ideas here. I mean, basically, they've got to be interested in something, right? And if you're running it, you know what it is. So maybe follow those tips. Is there a famous person in town you can get to go there?
No, hopefully it will be great if they're
So
right.
we know, I think, what we want to do.
Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe afterwards we can have a chat and then I'll come up with something, but it's not really my area, so, yeah. Cool. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Was there a question?
Oh, there was another question? Oh, shit. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Sorry, full start. Hold you.
Thank you for your talk, first of all. Also, you mentioned Terraform, right? So it's quite a niche technology.
Yeah.
And how do you define that you need a new meetup group? Because I bet there are like some DevOps, there are some Docker guys, and Terraform is kind of like just a side problem of these things. So how do you define that you need another meetup group?
So actually, that's a bit like your story, actually. So some guys created the Terraform meetup group, and when I saw it go online, I was like, that is a terrible idea. It's too niche. It's never going to work. But then HashiCorp said, HashiCorp is starting this new thing called HashiCorp User Groups, Hugs. And so I said, my friend Harm is running the Terraform thing, and it's not going very well. Maybe we should just change the name. But the thing is that it takes ages for the URL to update. So it's still called Terraform Amsterdam, but if you type HashiCorp User Group Amsterdam, you end up there. So actually it's for all the HashiCorp tools. So it's not so, basically the way to solve that was it's not niche anymore.
But do you still kind of like feel that it's like very limited to HashiCorp and it's still like solving like DevOps problem, or basically the same stories but like in different places at different dates?
I guess we should have a look. So what's that? 150 something? I don't know. It's going all right. I mean, this is what I do. I just like it's going up, so we're good. HashiCorp's very popular, right? I may work with them, but still, I think they're going to do fine because they've got a huge out of all open source software brands, theirs is one of the most loved. And if it doesn't work, then it was just a great experiment. That's it. So I think the way to find out if it's a good idea is just do it. It costs like $28 per 10 years or something. So that's what I would do. Okay. Yeah?
More? More questions?
No, that's it.
No?
Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. We'll take a short break and we'll be back in 10 minutes or something like that. Feel free to take a beer in the fridge over there.
As if they needed an excuse. Yeah, that was really fun.
All right, we're gonna start again. Yeah. Can you? All right. Shall we start? All right, let's get started. So, I'm Johann. This is me. I had longer mustache. I work in tech for about 15 years, 7 years in San Francisco doing the crazy startup ride. I arrived in Germany about 1.5 years ago. And I'm a technology evangelist here at Stylight. So generally what people ask me is like, what the hell is technology evangelist? It's basically tech marketing. So I actually belong to the marketing department. I'm doing marketing for technology and for our tech team, which means I write blog posts, I organize events, obviously. Yeah, those kind of things. Organize also a conference coming in June. More on that soon. So before I arrive at Stylight, by the way, do you guys know Stylight? No, I see. Like. So we just to put it briefly, we do like a search engine for fashion, and we make style happen, which is our mission. That's me when I arrived from San Francisco to Munich. Didn't know anyone. I was lonely and sad. And so what did I do? I just created a meetup. I happened to work in technology, so I was like, oh, there's no Docker meetup group. So I just created it. And it worked out pretty well. Like the first meetup was 20 people, the second one was like 50 people, and then like 100, and pretty crazy fast. And I ended up doing a lot of meetups in different places. Some of my meetup hosts are actually here, like this guy over there. So what I found out was actually pretty easy to organize meetup. I don't know what's going on with my setup. Pretty easy actually in Munich to organize at least tech meetups. Finding a host was always pretty easy. Sponsors as well. Less easy is like speakers, so like I volunteered for the first meetups to talk. And the turning point was actually me giving a Docker meetup here. Happened to meet like those guys, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a nice place to work. So I ended up here. And so I started 6 months ago. I ramped up the number of meetups we run at the company. So in 2015, we hosted more than 40 meetups. That's like almost 2,000 people registered. So you can say like probably 1,300 who actually came here, which is not bad still. We run on average like 1 to 2 meetups per week. Some are pretty large, like 100 to 200 people. I actually just created a machine learning meetup, which runs in 2 weeks, and it has like 140 people already registered, which is pretty nice. So Munich is a good tech city, we could say. So I wanted to give like a few tips I learned along the way. Well, actually Mark already gave almost all of them, so I expected that, so I turned this into a panel, so I also have less talk to do. By the way, so who wants to do the panel? 1, 2. No, not just 2. I need more than that. 3. Okay, Christian. And Stefan also will join us. So, on finding speakers, one trick I did, which actually works pretty well, is checking the conference around and see who's speaking. It's kind of a lot of manual work, but it actually works pretty well. You just reach out to the speakers, either by Twitter or by email, and ask them nicely to come to your meetup, and generally they accept. So I have like a Docker meetup actually in 2 weeks, where the speaker is coming from somewhere in Germany and to give a workshop here, and is giving at the same time a talk at my meetup. Another thing that works pretty well is to help other organizers. So I saw you guys talking together. You should help each other. If you have a venue, feel free to share it with others. We do that all the time. Connect speakers to other groups, and also cross-promote smaller groups. So, for example, I have like I see a lot of smaller meetup coming up, and I try to promote them on like my bigger groups. Try to also have some metrics. So, number of questions after a talk is generally a pretty good one. Mark, you succeeded in this one pretty well. How long people are hanging out after the talk, and you can also, of course, run a small survey using Typeform that Mark actually talked about to get kind of the feeling for the group. We actually build a pretty solid video setup, thanks to this guy over there, where we can stream. So this thing is streamed right now. And we record also most of the talks. Of course, if the speaker let us record him. It's not so easy. If you want more details, I can help you, or Samuel can give you some insights. I had to buy some boxes to get the HDMI feed and like buy some software, but eventually it works out. We're looking into a few things, some sponsoring, because we actually host quite a lot of meetups, so it can get expensive at some point. Trying to find some good and cheap catering also, and like if you have good insight on that, I'm happy to hear that. and also having some cool stuff in the office, you know, that's always nice. So now on to the panel discussion. So I'm going to call the people who wanted to come here. So we have Christian. We have, what's your name? Alex? Stefan, you want to come? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, you can come if you want. Maybe Stefan, you actually also have like questions, so you can help me moderate this thing. That's actually to be honest, that's the first panel I moderate, so that's a total experiment. Like we're just two newbies. All right. I need one more microphone. You just told me my microphone. Let's see. So my first one is, what is your best meetup moment?
Should we start with just an intro round?
Oh yeah, maybe an intro round would be good, yeah. Yes, Alex? Right. And which meetup groups and...
Okay, hello, my name is Alex, and I'm the organizer of the Munich Photographers.
Hi, my name is Christian. I'm the organizer of the Coding Dojo Munich.
Hi, my name is Andrea Taylor, and I'm the organizer of the Munich Business Speakers Toastmaster Group, which we saw broke the, the software. It's a bilingual Toastmasters group, so English and German. And then I also just rescued a group for SAP enthusiasts. And I myself am an, sorry? SAP enthusiast, yes, yes. It is not an oxymoron. And so I'm going to start doing some SAP code jams through that group and other kind of workshop events. And I am myself an SAP consultant in BI, BW. So.
Hi, I'm Mark. I think you know by now who I am. Good.
All right. So, yeah, I have like a bunch of questions which are more or less relevant, but your best meetup moment, like when you had like a wow, that's cool.
Okay, my best meetup moment was when I realized that there are also other people who want to organize events and are also caring about the group and doing something.
My best best moment in a meetup, I think it was the positive feedback of my attendees, and it was marvelous to see how good the group grows up after some time, and the feedback is going much better than the years before. So I think the work you put in your group gives you a nice and a good feeling back.
I have to say I'm a member of many meetups and go to attend many different groups. And my best moment, I would say, is I experienced through another group called the Code Pub Munich, and it's a group for women in IT, and they have such an amazing atmosphere there and always have really great speakers, and I learned so much from just watching how they run their meetups. It's a really great group, the Code Pub Munich.
The best moment in a meetup group was probably, so to support the ad hoc point that I was making earlier, we had a meetup group with Docker Randstad, and then some guy was talking about HashiCorp's Vault, and then the guy that wrote it was in the crowd, and then another guy that wrote KeyWiz, which is a competing thing, was also in the crowd, and they ended up having like a live debate, so we just put them on the stage and let them do that for 10 minutes. So that, yeah, I think that was pretty cool. It was unplanned. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I'm working for Meetup in the product department, so I would be interested in, I mean, what are the main features or issues you're having product-wise currently? So anything that, whatever you're, of course, Mark, I already know your answer, but but the others as well, and Mark, of course, you can sum up. But what's lacking? What do others better? Maybe one or two or three examples, just quickly, just to name them.
At the moment, it's like paying with PayPal, because you can only have one PayPal account for one group, and not that like individual organizers can put their own accounts into it.
Yeah, I think there are many things I missed. Like I have on Eventbrite some other things I can use, like ticketing, or this is much better implemented as on Meetup. And I missed something about cross-marketing, like I can make a Meetup and I can push it to Xing, LinkedIn, or whatever. This I miss really. This is really missing.
I have a couple of other groups on Xing, Xing.
We heard before, yeah.
And I think there is more opportunity to post links to your event in forums of other groups that maybe don't have any presence events. They're just, open forums and interest groups. And on Meetup, there isn't really that kind of a forum structure across different groups. And I would say Xing is your toughest competition still. But there is all this positive energy with Meetup, and you have this feeling like it's growing so rapidly, and no matter what your interests are, there's some group there that will interest you. And one other thing I should say too about the most positive experiences up to now, the CodePub Munich group, they also do this thing of alternating with an inspirational event and a workshop event. So every other event is more technical, and then it alternates with an inspirational event. And that speaks to what I think what someone had said before about this disparity among the members and how to sort of meet that golden middle. Thank you.
I've got three. Okay, the first one is that typically speakers send me their abstracts and bios by email, and then I want to copy and paste them into the event. But when I do that, crazy shit happens, and I don't know why.
It told me as well.
So apparently, if you copy and paste, it always puts it at the top of the text box, and I don't understand this, but it seems like this is a solved problem, so I guess it should be solved on Meetup as well. Second one is, if you charge for events, you can't have a wait list, which is it doesn't make any sense to me. And the third one, I just forgot, so we'll just go with two, I think.
Cool, thanks.
I can do the third one. And on Xing, when you have an event, you can direct your messages to your group members according to who has already answered or how they've already answered, so that you can say, okay, I'm sending this reminder to only the yeses and the maybes, but not the nos, so that you don't have to broadcast to the entire group and annoy everybody.
Okay, cool, thanks. Yeah, I guess that's something maybe for future Meetup to maybe have a small, whatever, more feedback session about what you as Meetup organizers are kind of wishing you for the future from Meetup, and we can gather and send it over to New York. So, and I mean, we have more Meetup organizer events globally, so and that always helps, and it's so we can push in the international team. Yeah.
So yeah, actually something I want to do is to actually use Mobilize, so this tool we talked about earlier, to create like a group of like you guys, if you want to join. So we can also share like, different things like who are you using to do like catering, or like some tips, like if some speakers are coming in town and you want to share that with the community. So having some kind of like meta tool on top of like Meetup to like city-wide, I think could be interesting. Your biggest Meetup fail? Your biggest Meetup fail, like something that just didn't work out at all? Or like awkward moment? I love those. No?
I don't remember on a fail.
Oh, that's good.
Selective memory here. I don't have one, but Alex, who couldn't stay till the end here, he was saying that for the Pie Ladies group, he organized an event and one person came. So
okay,
with the no-show rate, it can be tricky.
Yeah.
The biggest failure, so we get really big numbers now, but we recently, I think October last year, organized a hackathon around Docker. And like 7 people showed up and nobody really cared about it and everyone left after 2 hours, which was surprising because we get big numbers if they're listening to stuff, but apparently like actually participating was not so popular and I didn't expect that. So that's one of the things we'll be working on. I don't think that's really anything to do with meetup.com, so to say, but it is sort of interesting that people tend to want to, or at least in our groups, they're more interested in consuming than sort of being involved at the moment.
I want to add something to your answer, because I also have the experience that people on Meetup, they more want to join and consume, and rather than to create. So if I have a photography meetup where people actually have to do something, the number of attendees is less if rather when we go to a museum and look at pictures.
Any good tip you would like to share about like how you grow your meetup, or like what make people happy, something like positive this time about organizing meetups?
Thank you. With the Toastmasters group, I did mention it to the division organizer for Toastmasters that also takes care of all the Toastmasters groups in Munich. And then she started sort of a parent group, and she posts all the dates for all the different Toastmaster groups. And then there's sort of a link to our group as a single group as well. So this idea of joining together with other groups, it really is an important factor, I think, in making the group grow. And then also cross-pollinating your users or your members from other groups. So I find that people follow me from other groups that I've joined. They see, oh, what is she doing? And so the more you're involved in other groups, the more people you draw to your own group automatically, I would think.
So I was just outside having a conversation with Morten, and he brought up an interesting point, which is that growing the group is not actually necessarily a goal. Like the idea is to have like a well-functioning group where people are having fun, or whatever it is they like to do. So I think in general, what I notice in the meetups that I don't enjoy is that it's not clear what they're doing or what I'm supposed to do, right? So like at Docker Randstad, it's supposed to be big and it's supposed to be fun, and we throw around t-shirts and do Mexican waves, right? That's very clear. At a lot of the meetups I go to, there's no real clear goal or leadership, and that makes it difficult to be a part of because you're not really sure what you're joining. Like, what is this? Is it a meetup group where I'm supposed to talk? Am I supposed to shut up? Am I supposed to bring something? So I think having a clear identity in your head, it's like typical marketing message, like to make friends, you have to make enemies, right? You have to choose something and go with it and see if that works rather than trying to be everything.
I mean, one more question in terms of the product, sorry. I mean, currently Meetup is a lot about as well expats, so English-speaking people coming to Munich, like your example, Johann, trying to meet other people. And so what's your experience in terms of how many percentage of your members or the people joining or showing up on your meetups are really English-speaking, are expats, or how many are German? Is it an issue with the English and German translations, or with the topics in general? So as I as well showed in my presentation, if you're about tech, of course that's not an issue, as tech is the same vocabulary all over the world. But I mean, photography is nearby. But what do you think about English and expats in general, and really people from Munich that lived here forever and join your meetup group?
For the photographers, I have to say the English language is not so big problem, because most of the people are expats, or they are from tech, or they know English, and there are only very few people who have problems speaking English. And yeah, also the numbers percentage-wise, maybe 10% people who have problems with English, and the rest no problems.
So for the Coding Dojo group, this is a tech group with many programmers, so most of them understand English, and if there is people which want to talk in English, it's not a problem. We build groups and teams, and usually all of them talk English. Yeah. And we make since some time the presentations in 2 languages, so everybody can participate.
I would also say that in my 2 groups, the SAP enthusiasts and also the Toastmasters group, there's no problem with it being held in English. And just as a tip, the other competition you have besides events on Sing is the Internations platform. Do you know Internations? But I think where Meetup has a big advantage is that you do not have to subscribe to be a member. You just pay if you organize the group. Whereas on Internations, if you want to join any real group activities, you have to become a full-fledged member. So they always tease you with, you know, a little bit of information about the event, but you have to actually pay the minimum membership fee in order to see the details of where it's located and to actually sign up and attend. So Meetup is a strong advantage over that.
Yeah, so in Amsterdam, I don't really know. Amsterdam's incredibly international. Standard language is English, unless it's not, then it's Dutch. And I don't know, we've always done everything in English. And I also noticed that the Dutch language meetup groups tend to do less well, but that could be that they're doing better on other platforms. I don't actually use any or even look at any other than Meetup, so we've never even thought about it. It's just go with English. But it's also, we only do tech meetups as well, right? Where the sort of standard language is English most of the time. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a priority for me, or for representing the German market a bit. I mean, when we really want to grow further Meetup in Germany, then I guess we should as well attract more German-speaking users or members, and there are a lot of super interesting other topics that we want to see as well in the next couple of whatever months or years, no matter if it's about diseases or any other help groups that are really specific to as well to language, so that it's not about international term like in tech that's used globally, and then if you as well think about you type something in search engines, and then of course if it's a Selbsthilfegruppe, then hopefully you show up. Yeah. Morten. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like maybe Mark in Amsterdam might be the same sort of thing. Maybe you're seeing fewer Dutch and more
Okay. Yeah, as I said before, most of them are non-Germans.
So my meetup group is the JavaScript user group in Munich, and in our meetups, the vast majority is German. So lots of Germans. JavaScript. JavaScript. It's a programming language.
On the Coding Dojo Munich, I think there are 80% Germans and 20% from external countries.
If I may intervene. For the Boulder meetup, it's pretty interesting because it varies from each day. But I would say it's definitely less than 50% people who are from Germany or from Munich. Most of them obviously stay in Munich for a longer time, but yeah, their origins are somewhere else.
I would say for both of my groups, the Toastmasters group and the SAP group, it's maybe 70 to 80% German and 20 to 30% international and all nations.
So, I think it's 50-50, Docker Randstad, the biggest one. The HashiCorp one, I think it's more Dutch at the moment. I don't know, maybe it's more Dutch at first, and then the expats catch on, and then they sort of take over. Software Circus is very, very international, but that's also because we've got meetups in other countries, so that's sort of part of the flavor. But it doesn't seem to matter in any way for us in the Netherlands, because English is like very well spoken by everybody there, so it's not a thing.
That seems to be the case here in Munich too, that the younger people, their English is top, and so it's never really a problem, especially now with the meetup group.
All right. Yes, I wanted to actually open the conversation to you guys.
Maybe there's one more comment. Basically, what I recognized is it really depends what kind of people you attract. So, for example, for the startup community in Munich, in my group I have very internationally, it's 50-50 because all my talks and the whole moderation is in English. So I attract all the expats from Munich. But when I go, for example, to some university events, I see people I never saw before, and I don't see them in any kind of other Wira or other events. So it also really depends. Is it a university event? Is it basically a company event, a corporate event? It really depends who's your target group, and most of the time the people are not mixing at all. So it's also part is 100% German, and it's just university, and there are no other students or expats or something like that.
Thank you. Do you guys have questions for panelists or to ask the crowd in general?
I hope I didn't miss the question, but what was your biggest challenge in a meetup when organizing meetup?
My biggest challenge was at the beginning to get the group going, because at the beginning I did all the events myself, all the photography events, and then after a while I got a little bit tired of this, but thankfully at that point the group was big enough and other people are started to step in, and now yeah, there are many more meetups and it's not depending on myself anymore.
My biggest challenge was that I got the group from other people, and they stopped working for the group at the moment, and I have to bring it from the dead point to a living point, and now it's growing and working again.
Yeah, that also applies to this group that I just sort of rescued for the SAP enthusiasts. And my biggest challenge is going to be finding a venue where we have enough VLAN capacity for holding SAP code jams, where everyone can be working at the same time on their laptops and doing a live workshop. So if anyone has suggestions, please let me know.
So the biggest, I think, you touched on that. The biggest problem at first is getting like escape velocity. Right, you need to get it rolling, you need to get it in the air, and that's tough. We did the first Docker Randstad meetup group we did was in my living room, and it was oversubscribed. So we did it 2 nights in a row in my living room, and then we were like, okay, this is great. And then we did the next one, and 4 people came. I'm like, shit. And then the next one was like 12 people. It's like, oh, this is not good at all. But we just kept going. And with that, also Docker as a technology was becoming bigger as well. So then at a certain point, it started to work. And now you see stuff where like people sign up even if they don't know what it is. Now there's a different problem, which is when you have meetups of like 100 or 150 people, it's quite difficult to find somewhere to put them because we rely on the venues to pay for the pizza and the beer. And because Docker falls under sort of DevOps group, I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but like DevOps drink more than anyone else. So like if you bring, yeah, I can't think of another example where I've been. Someone was telling me, the guy that runs the Python, I can't remember what it's called, Python something. I was like, how many beers do you get per person? He was like 1 to 2, and we're like 3 to 4. And some of the people don't drink, so some people are drinking like 7, right? But that's a DevOps thing, I think, yeah.
One thing, I think that's exactly what you said. We've got a venue, so I'm running a cafe, and we start with Meetup, offering the space to Meetup groups. So it was very good for us because we got some people in. In the meanwhile, we are running our own meetups as well. And I think that could be something which might be a good idea to add to the product as well as because I think the venues, I don't know what you say, but while you've got much larger space than we have, it's a cozy little cafe on a corner, so we don't have more space than 50 people. But I think it would be a good idea to offer a space on Meetup where venues can offer the space they have. If they want to charge for it, for me it's really, well, we are, for example, hosting the Meetup from Chris, and I'm interested in cryptocurrencies anyway, so for me it's like a win-win situation. And I think that would be quite positive if you can run that. My Fable. I've got business cards with me.
Anyone else?
So, since we reached the thing with locations to host, I mean, we host some meetups at the Buddha Bootcamp, and I want to know from you what you really think is a perfect thing for a location. So, what are the requirements you have personally?
For my group, there are different requirements. For one, we go just outside and take pictures, but also sometimes, and that we haven't done yet because we didn't have a venue, is like also giving talks about software to use for editing pictures or just showing pictures and discussing them. Or maybe also some rooms where we can take pictures indoor, like portraits or so. So it's different for photographers.
So for our group, it's very important to have Wi-Fi and some tables, and that's it.
Stable Wi-Fi, and then also lots of Steckleisten, and sorry, power supplies, yeah, and or power outlets, and then also the Burda Bootcamp area. Yeah, that's a very cool place. But what is your maximum capacity there, would you say?
So at the moment we are around 50 if you need tables and stuff where people can really work, and for just talks we can host up to 70 people. And on the middle of the year we move out of our old location to a new location, 2 houses next to this, and have more space hopefully there. So
Okay.
We'll
cool.
see how many we can host there.
Yeah. I've been there to a Python code retreat and a JavaScript code retreat, and it really is a wonderful venue. Oh, perfect.
Most important thing for me is lighting. And I'm not joking. So like, it's basically a show, right? So you should come and feel comfortable, and it shouldn't be like strip crappy lights where everyone's sort of feeling blind and like they want to go home. Like, this place is incredible. It feels like a TED Talk. This is good because people want to stay. Normally, like some of the bigger events that we do, we have to go to places like Dutch banks that I will not name, and they've got very uninspiring rooms, and that sucks. The other thing, actually, for us is that we've had some larger, we've got a lot of big technology companies moving to Amsterdam now. Like Uber is one of them, and there's a bunch more. And some of them require that we have to send a full list, first name and last name, for security ahead of time, which is a pain in the ass because some people are just like James 3 on there, so I don't know what his last name is, so I have to message them all. And some of them require NDAs, right, which we're just never going to do. So like, don't do NDAs, and don't do good lighting. That's the.
So we never had this problem with NDAs, and I make many meetups by Microsoft or.
I've seen this NDA thing quite a lot in San Francisco. Like when you go to Yelp or like Google or whatever, you always need to. Question over there? No? You had a question, right?
It was kind of funny because I wanted to add something to question beforehand, and you already asked it like next one. Yeah, but I'm still gonna say it. So basically, one of the issues that we had quite often, that like community is like quite passive. So everybody wants to listen to talks, but if you're gonna ask like, could you talk about something nice, even if you know that this guy is like super nice and expert. So for the evenings that you have Meetup, like there are like lots of people who wants to say something afterwards. But if you like months later or like week later asking like, okay, we're gonna have a Meetup, can you show up and like tell your story? Like lots of them like, nah, I'm not sure, like maybe my story is not that cool. So you need to keep track of those people who you have seen that they want to tell something, and do not forget who exactly was that. So for us it's like quite a big problem. Or sometimes if you know that, I don't know, like some rock star, let's say, from your topic, let's say some of core contributors of Go is coming to the city, but he's coming like in 5 days. You need to organize a meetup like in 5 days, basically. So you need to know that like your people are gonna be there, and yeah, organize all these like location things. So it's not like very scalable and flexible for those things.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, I guess we can mingle for like. Oh yeah, Stefan.
I have one more.
Yeah.
And Johann, you're the first one entering. So what is the meetup group you, maybe as well a panelist, you would like to see in Munich 2016, right? That might not exist. You whatever, never started it, but thinking of it. What's the meetup group
that I want to see happen?
Yes.
I don't know, generally when they don't exist, I create them. So.
But you told me about the one that didn't really work out, so the cigars one.
Oh yeah, the cigar smoker one, right? Yeah, well this one didn't work out. Like I had 5 people registering and that was it. Cigar smoking. Yeah. Well. Yeah, maybe I should couple it with alcohol. I don't know. Yeah.
What was the question? Sorry, what was the question? In terms of a new meetup group. An imaginary one. I love the one in the video about basketball for the vertically challenged. That was very good, very good. New York humor, I guess.
So I'm slightly biased, but I would like to see Software Circus coming to Munich in 2016.
Let's
It's got a
talk
big
about
brand.
it more.
It's got a big. Well, come on, I've got to get a plug in here somewhere. It's got a big brand behind it already. You're almost guaranteed a following. It provides you with incredible networking opportunities. It's like Hacker News Live. You can put anything on you want as long as it's techie and cool. Who wouldn't want to do that? Apparently, everybody wouldn't want to do that. It's only an hour flight from HQ, exactly. So that's basically my answer, yeah. Shameless plug.
Actually, I was quite inspired by what Stylight did in hosting a meetup for brainstorming about ideas to support refugee integration here in Munich. Kudos for that. And yeah, I guess for me personally, I think the more sort of positive impulses like that for the current situation that we're in, it would be yeah, something I would really welcome. Kudos to you for doing that already.
Okay. It just gave me an idea, the idea of like pop-up meetups. Maybe that's a thing that Meetup would like to support. If there's a, if you'd like to bring a bunch of people to talk about one thing, but don't want to create an entire group that's going to last for ages, maybe you could give like, temporary passes to run a meetup to support a specific discussion around a specific cause. Refugees is a great one right now in Europe. That'd be great.
So yeah, so we actually have a group that is like a aggregator group where we list like all the meetup we actually host, but also some pop-up meetups. So the refugee one was actually one of the pop-up meetups we created. We are going to have one soon about a student at TUM University doing a Hyperloop project, which would be quite interesting. So yeah, I think actually in a lot of cities there are those kind of like super general meetup where you can propose talks that are like specific to something. Like in Berlin, I think Zalando is doing quite a lot in that space, or SoundCloud. Anything else? Oh, yes.
Just one other little shameless plug from me. SAP has an online platform for free courses on SAP software. Okay, there's a lot of marketing in the courses, but they recently announced one that just started, and in Bezug auf, in relation to the refugee crisis, they have an online course on how to become a volunteer German teacher to refugees, and how to organize course material for free, how to organize a group or individual training, and how to get that started as an individual. And it's got sponsorship from the Kultus Ministerium and top level SAP executives, and it's quite a nice initiative. It's only a 2-week long course, I believe. But it just shows that German companies, a major company like SAP, is also trying to do something really positive to influence the situation.
All right. We can stay around another like 20 minutes to mingle if you want, and get to know each other. Thank you all for coming.
And thanks, Johann, for having the beer or having the meetup here and the beer and pizza, right? Thanks.